Welcome everyone. Thanks a lot for staying with us. You're watching Plain Speak with me, Shivani Gupta, and we're joining you live from CNN News 18 and Federal Bank Primetime Studio. In just a few minutes from now, we will get you exclusive excerpts of the explosive interview of Prime Minister Narendra Modi to News 18 Network. From Congress inheritance tax promise to Muslim quota war, to wealth survey storm, to dynastic politics and agency misuse charge, Prime Minister has steered into the Congress and India bloc partners. While speaking to Network 18 Group Editor-in-Chief Rahul Joshi, he said that while he is talking about inheritance of development, the opposition is seeking to loot and plunder. Prime Minister Modi said he waited for 10 days after the launch of the Congress manifesto for the evils of the documents to be brought out in an unbiased manner, but was forced to talk about some truths himself. Now, he has branded the Congress's wealth survey and distribution idea as a failed Maoist idea akin to urban accents. The Congress has been on the back foot since the PM himself shone a light on this wealth survey idea. PM even mentioned that women's Mangal Sutra could be taken away in a very evocative criticism of the Congress's pitch. Now, while the Congress refuses any such redistribution plan, they haven't quite been able to explain what will follow the caste census and a wealth survey that indeed has been promised. When it comes to leftist ideas, this is not the only one in the Congress manifesto, and it isn't the first time. The Congress is coming across as even more left of centre than the left itself in India, particularly on economic policies. In fact, some elements could be better characterized as woke, which is ultra or far leftist. Some would say loony, radical, anarchist segment worldwide that is already beginning to lose some currency. Now, under Rahul Gandhi, too many such ideas like India is not even a nation, or that poverty can be erased by sending money to people's bank accounts have been espoused. And once again, his statements land the party in trouble, even on the concept of wealth survey and what follows next. Remember, he himself had branded it as some sort of a radical Krantikari step that the party would take. So has the grand old party indeed been hijacked by the far left, or at least far left ideology? We'll take that question to our guests in just a bit. First, let me break down what the Prime Minister said on Congress's economic promises or vision that have now become the bone of contention this election season. So first of all, he clarified that there will be no inheritance tax if BJP was to be voted to power. Now, this is because the Congress had highlighted some BJP leaders' statements in support of inheritance tax too. He then added that it is the Congress that has actually given birth to wealth inequality in India. Does Congress's X-ray mean raiding every home is the question that the Prime Minister asked in that exclusive interview. Will they seize gold of women in their homes? Once again, he reiterated that fear of how are you going to assess people's wealth and assets, because that's exactly what the Congress has promised to do. Wealth redistribution is a Maoist ideology. He added that this urban Naxal thought has never helped the world. And many would argue, actually this idea, this utopia that everybody could have the same income or the same wealth or assets is an idea that has just never been successful anywhere in the world. He also went on to say, finally, he feels that this entire economic vision is a clear Congress plot to loot the people of India. This is in combination of both, if you look at inheritance tax plus the wealth survey argument that the Congress has put forward. Now, Congress, of course, has denied that any inheritance tax would be levied. But on the issue of a wealth survey, they have indeed been caught in their own web of words and promises. It is not so much the manifesto, but Rahul's speech that triggered the storm. So what did Rahul Gandhi say, and what did he say later? Let me break that down for you. When the manifesto was first launched, Rahul said they will do a financial and institutional survey, and he added, we will distribute India's wealth to these sections. He was, of course, talking of the marginalized in India. That is very clearly on record what Rahul Gandhi said. But later, when the Congress had some explaining to do because of his stand, he said, we have not said that we will take any action just yet. that we wanted to find out injustice that the nation faced. So it is being seen as a bit of a climb down from what Rahul Gandhi's original very radical Krantikari speech was. But that is hardly any solace, because he is not quite disagreeing with the idea of the wealth redistribution or distribution in itself. In fact, he's only going on to say that we're not decided just yet. We haven't promised the action yet. But like I said, what is supposed to happen after a caste survey and a wealth survey, nobody really knows. Interestingly though, Sister Priyanka Gandhi repeated the same promise, even though they're not explicitly talking about wealth redistribution, but are definitely talking about wealth distribution.
देश का एक्सरे कर देंगे, दूध का दूध, पानी का पानी हो जाएगा। माइनॉरिटीज को पता लग जाएगा कि इस देश में उनकी भागीदारी कितनी है। जो आपका हक बनता है वो हम आपके लिए आपको देने का काम करेंगे।
एससी, एसटी और ओबीसी के लिए, जैसे मेरे भाई हर जगह कहते हैं, पूरी गिनती की जाएगी पूरे देश में कि कौन किस जाति की कितनी कितनी आबादी है, सिर्फ आपकी नहीं लेकिन सबकी, और कौन कितना कमा रहा है, और उसके तहत फिर नई नीतियां बनाई जाएंगी।
Now the Prime Minister has termed it Maoist or urban Naxal thought. Lately, the Congress has faced that charge often, from support to JNU protests and objectionable slogans to talk of radical steps to ensure wealth equality. Has the Congress been taken over by the far left? Let me present some examples of leftist agendas creeping into the Congress's manifesto when it comes to economic policies. So first, of course, is this socio-economic and caste census. And they have gone on to say that based on this data, we will strengthen the agenda for affirmative action. Reservation in private educational sector. They've gone on to say, interestingly, not just reservations in the public institutions, but reservation in private educational institutions will be carved out as per law for SC, ST and OBCs. Now, generally, right of center economic policies don't like to touch the private sector for obvious reasons. But here's the kicker. The Congress party is even talking about something called the Diversity Commission. It is saying, and this is very, very interesting, it actually goes on to say in its manifesto that there will be a commission formed to measure, monitor and promote diversity in public and private employment and education. So not just private, not just public, but also private bodies of all kinds could come under a diversity commission, which is very much akin to what some of the other economies, particularly the Western economies, are doing and are coming under severe criticism for. So that brings us to the big question that we're asking today. Is this redistribution plan, as the PM says, an urban Naxal thought, and has the Congress party's economic agenda, particularly, if not everything else, been completely taken over by the far left?
इनहेरिटेंस टैक्स की बात की, जो हम लोगों की जमा पूंजी है, जब हम अपने लोग पूरा बचाते हैं अपने फैमिली के लिए, जब हम उसको अपने आने वाली जनरेशन को देंगे तो उस पर भी टैक्स लगेगा, और ये टैक्स बहुत बड़ा टैक्स हो सकता है। तो क्या आप कहेंगे कि बीजेपी अगर आएगी तो इस टैक्स को कभी नहीं लागू करेगी?
भारतीय जनता पार्टी क्या करेगी, हमारे मैनिफेस्टो में साफ हमने लिख करके लाए हुए। अब उन्होंने कहीं सगुफा छोड़ दिया तो मैं भी वो झंडा लेके घूमूंगा, ये सवाल आपके मन में कैसे आ जाता है? भारतीय जनता पार्टी की विचारधारा साफ है जी। हम अपनी विचारधारा के आधार पर कार्यक्रमों को लेकर के, मैनिफेस्टो को लेकर के देश के सामने जाते हैं। कृपा करके ऐसे महाशयों के विचारों को हम पर मत थोपिए भाई।
मोदी जी, राहुल गांधी ने एक बात और कही है, वो कहते हैं कि जब वो सरकार अगर उनकी आएगी तो वो एक नेशनल एक्सरे कराएंगे। इसी से जुड़ा सवाल है, इसीलिए मैं पूछना चाह रहा हूँ, एक नेशनल एक्सरे कराएंगे। बात सिर्फ कास्ट सेंसस की नहीं है जो कि वो करते आए हैं, उस पर भी मैं आपका मत जानना चाहूँगा, मगर बात वो कहते हैं इससे आगे है, बात कास्ट की नहीं, बात जस्टिस की है। और वो कहते हैं कि हम जो है एक सोशियो इकोनॉमिक सर्वे लाएंगे, एक इंस्टीट्यूशनल सर्वे लाएंगे और उसमें देखेंगे कि किसके पास किस जाति और किस उस वर्ग के पास क्या है, कितना धन है, कितनी इंस्टीट्यूशंस में भागीदारी है, और उसके बेसिस पर हम इस पूरे सिस्टम को रीडिस्ट्रीब्यूट करेंगे। इसको आप कैसे देखते हैं?
सबसे पहले तो इस देश में जो लोग अपने आप को राजनीति के एक्सपर्ट मानते हैं, जो लोग देश के उतार चढ़ाव को बड़ी बारीकी से अध्ययन करते हैं, सबसे पहले उनका दायित्व है कि वो ऐसे लोगों को पूछे कि जिस परिस्थितियों का वर्णन आप कर रहे हो, अगर ये सही है तो 50, 60, 65 साल तो आपने राज किया भाई। ये मुसीबत के जो जन्मदाता आप हो, और आपने अब तक की बर्बादी लाई क्यों? पहले उनका जवाब मांगो भाई। नंबर 1। नंबर 2, एक्सरे का मतलब क्या है जी? मतलब हर परिवार में जाना, घर घर छापा मारना, अगर किसी अनाज के डिब्बे में किसी महिला ने अपने गहने छपा के रखे हैं, उसको भी एक्सरे किया जाएगा, उनके गहने ले लिए जाएंगे, जमीनों का हिसाब किताब किया जाएगा और फिर उसको रिडिस्ट्रीब्यूट करेंगे। ये दुनिया में एक माओवादी विचार ने सब किया हुआ है, दुनिया बर्बाद हो चुकी है जी। ये पूरी तरह अर्बन नक्सल उस सोच का सीधा सीधा प्रगटीकरण है, और इसलिए मैनिफेस्टो आने के 10 दिन तक बाद भी ये जो जमात आए दिन लिखापट्टी करती है ना, वो चुप रही, उनके प्रोटेक्शन में चुप रही है। तब मिलके मेरी जिम्मेवारी बन जाती है कि देश को जगाना कि भाई देखिए आपको लूटने की ये तरकीब हो रही है। और दूसरा पार्ट है, डॉक्टर मनमोहन सिंह जी वगैरह, उन्होंने हर बार कहा है कि भाई जो भी संपत्ति होगी इस पर पहला अधिकार किसका होगा। तो हिसाब किताब वो साफ है, वो क्या करना चाहते हैं।
Let's go across to our guest joining us. Tuhin Sinha is national spokesperson of the BJP, Mahima Singh from the Congress party. I'm also joined by Harsh Madhusudan, author, and Madhavan Narayanan, senior journalist with us. I do thank you all for your time. Mahima Singh, let me begin with you because it is the Congress's manifesto that has been the point of much contention lately, and particularly the economic policies. The Prime Minister today in his interview to CNN News 18 says this is akin to Maoist ideology, urban Naxal ideology, an ideology that has failed all over the world. These are my words, but he said that this has never helped the world. And this is almost like a plan to loot the country.
Jai Hind. Shivani, I at the outset request you please not to interject for at least 1 minute. Allow me to complete my thought. And I say this for a reason. I repeat what Mr. Jairam Ramesh has quoted today from Goebbels, the propaganda director of Hitler. If you tell a lie big enough and keep repeating it, people will eventually come to believe it. And that is what the Prime Minister is doing. But today, as I was watching the excerpts of your interview and the excerpts in script projected everywhere else, I was wondering this, Shivani. I don't know what is more burlesque. Is it the interviewers, the stance of the interviewers, or the interviewee? Because to the Prime Minister today, I am reminded of the Hindi song "Sajan re jhoot mat bolo, खुदा के पास जाना है, ना हाथी है ना घोड़ा है, वहाँ पैदल ही जाना है." And to your channel, to Network 18, I want to repeat the lines of that famous Hindi song, "रहने दे अभी थोड़ा सा भरम," because the nature of questions was very, very intriguing. Because I thought you will question him about Prajwal Revanna. I thought you will question him about the alleged breach of model code of conduct. I thought you will question him that why did his former finance ministers, Mr. Arun Jaitley, Mr. Jayant Sinha, support the contention of an inheritance tax? Why did the BJP in its manifestos of 1996 and 1999 project inheritance tax as one of their promises?
Yes, so the Prime Minister has clarified on that there will be. He was asked if the BJP comes to power, will it implement this tax? And he clarified, one second, you've had more than a minute. Now let me come in because you didn't answer my question. I also pointed out the fact that this is not so much about what your manifesto says, but what your top leaders are saying. I have played out excerpts from both Rahul Gandhi and Priyanka Gandhi Vadra's speeches. I've also played out, excerpts of what Rahul Gandhi has said before and after the Congress manifesto came under scrutiny. My question is simple. You can disagree with the questions posed to the PM, free country, etc. But my question is simple. Why is the Congress unable to explain what will follow the caste census and the wealth survey? And how will you determine wealth equality? Could you first of all give me an example of any place, any utopia in this world where wealth equality exists in such a large country?
Allow me, Shivani. You see, the inequality in this country, first of all, let's agree that it's a bottomless abyss. For a slum dweller to equate to the income of a capitalist, it will take 941 odd years by data, by statistics. You quoted Mr. Rahul Gandhi earlier during your report and you said that he said India was never a nation. India is not a nation. Sorry, you misquoted him. And now that you're asking me what is Congress's
plan. No, I
plan
didn't misquote him at all. Rahul Gandhi has been repeatedly saying.
Shivani,
no, one second. No, you completely quoted me out of context. Rahul Gandhi has repeatedly said, and I have videos of that too, although that's not my news point today. One second. Now, Rahul Gandhi has repeatedly said India is not a nation, it's a union of states.
India is a union of states. You go to the government websites where the constitution is quoted. That is what the constitution says.
So India is not a nation. No, it's a union of states.
Let me come to answer. Yeah, it's all everywhere in the constitution also. Everywhere.
So why are you being so defensive about it? Why are you saying Rahul Gandhi has not said it? He has said it.
He's not said. No. He's not said India is not a nation. He has said that India is a union of states, but he's not said that India is not a nation. Now, coming to answer your question.
Yes, Shivani, answer my question.
You have asked me about our plan and our references. First of all, Shivani, please allow me to respond and complete my response. First of all, see, the BJP keeps on beating the drum saying...
No, forget about that. No, Mahima, see, you're doing the same thing again. I'm asking you a direct question. Why is the Congress party unable to explain how this distribution of wealth that both Rahul Gandhi and Priyanka Gandhi have talked about will come about? That's all.
Will you allow me?
Yes, please. Pointed question, please.
2 points I'm making here. 70 years we have ruled the country as the BJP purports, as the BJP says. Although I will say 15 years out of the last 30 years, BJP has ruled. In the last 70 years, if we wanted to implement inheritance tax or if we wanted to snatch away the wealth of the people, if we wanted to wrongfully bridge the gap, we could have done so, but we did not do so. And we, since point number 2, we sincerely conducted a 10-yearly census. All these years, it is for the first time in the history that a census has not been conducted over 14 years.
You're not answering my question.
BJP. I have answered your question. It is for you to decipher. I very much answered
your question. That's precisely the problem. I'm unable to decipher, and I'm maybe not the most intelligent person in the world. I'll concede that much. But I'm intelligent enough when someone gives me a direct answer and tells me, okay, wealth survey, institutional survey, caste census, next DEFGH. You're not telling me that, which is why there is fear, which is why there is suspicion.
Country over the past 14 years, Shivani, would you ask the BJP spokesperson why?
I'm not going in the past. You're talking about the last 55 years of the Congress. Because I'm talking about what you promised. I'm talking about what's in the manifesto. It's supposed to be forward-looking.
Yes, we promised in Karnataka and Rajasthan we fulfilled, and the answers
Which
to the
promise
future
have you fulfilled in Karnataka and Rajasthan?
All the promises.
Which one?
All the promises and the answers to the future, Shivani.
So was wealth distribution promised in Karnataka and Rajasthan?
I'm saying the guarantees that we promised, the guarantees that we made were delivered. Similarly, if we are making these guarantees, हम अभी से क्या बताएं क्या हमारे दिल में है? We have made the promises, we'll fulfill. But
this is rather strange. You are unwilling to outline your own vision. This is rather strange. You are saying vote for us, and then you will see what we do.
No. That is what the BJP says. हमारे जो मन में आएगा
हम करेंगे. But Mahima, I'm giving you an opportunity. I started this 6 minutes ago with you. And I am giving you an opportunity repeatedly to tell me what follows the caste census and the wealth survey. You are unable to tell me.
Shivani, have you gone through the Congress manifesto?
Yes, the
Have you
manifesto
been-
doesn't say anything.
Have you, all right. Have you been able to find out the words inheritance tax or wealth redistribution? You go through BJP
I'm not
manifestos
talking
from
about
1996
inheritance
and
tax.
1999.
I'm talking about the wealth survey and the caste survey
I am-
idea. In
Yeah,
any
yeah.
case, I've given
we
you an
did.
opportunity to explain this. I think Tuhin has the right to now come in. It's been quite a while. So Tuhin, the Congress party, as you've heard, maintains that these promises that the Congress is being accused of are not mentioned in its manifesto, just like the BJP has a problem with the opposition saying, oh, when the BJP comes to power, constitution will change, there are suggestions of reservations going away. Similarly, does the BJP also not face the charge that you are spreading fear and paranoia on the basis of what the Congress has not promised?
Well, good evening, Shivani. Good evening, everybody. I think Sam Pitroda has already done an X-ray of the Congress manifesto and exposed its insidious intent. Now, unlike the Congress, which thrives in beating around the bush, I will be very direct and very pointed. Page 28, point number 21 of the Congress manifesto. We will address the growing inequality of wealth and income through suitable changes in policy. Now, Sam Pitroda basically only expanded on this by spelling out the wealth redistribution plan and saying and hinting that it would be 55% tax of the property. Page 7. Congress, page 7.23, Congress will establish a diversity commission that will measure, monitor and promote diversity in public and private employment. They will not even spare private employment and education from this, supposed or, the fancy ideas of wealth redistribution. And page 8, point number 6, we will ensure that the minorities receive their fair share of opportunities in education, and public service and public works contracts. Imagine infrastructure projects and construction projects being awarded on the basis of religion. So this is a sinister plan which the Congress party has been working on.
But can I just come in?
Take it in the context. You have to additionally take it in the context of Rahul Gandhi's select speeches in places like Wayanad and Hyderabad to put 2 and 2 together.
Okay, no, I'll come to that in just a bit. As far as, I want to go one by one. As far as inheritance tax is concerned, you're only going by what Sam Pitroda has said. Now, even in your party, you've had individuals who have mooted the idea of an inheritance tax or have been favorable to the idea.
I need to
the Congress party, Sam Pitroda, is also free enough to voice that idea, especially when the Congress's decision makers have said that they have no such plan.
Jayant Sinha has already clarified that when he said that in 2013, he was heading Omidyar Network in India. He did not say that as minister. When Arun Jaitley had said that, he had said that in a completely different context. And if you go by his words, he still never advocated it. So this is a false charge. This is a false equivalence.
So can I just come? The inheritance tax debate may be a little bit black and white, but what is not black and white is the whole wealth survey and wealth distribution idea. The big question, Harsh, that I am asking today is, you look at not just this whole socio-economic utopia of sorts that is being conjured upon. You talk about reservations in the private sector, both jobs and education. You talk about this diversity commission, right, which is evoking the thoughts of a woke commission in India. How do you read the economic policies that have been slipped into the Congress's manifesto? And these are not based on statements. I am only directly quoting the Congress manifesto.
Shivani, thank you for having me on your show. It's a pleasure. Based on the manifesto as well as the speeches of the de facto leader of the Congress party, Rahul Gandhi, it seems to be fantastical economics in the sense, for example, every woman, the eldest woman of a poorest family or poorest families in India have been promised 1 lakh rupees as per the agenda. The same Rahul Gandhi in speeches have said SC, ST, OBC women will also get it. So he brings an economic angle. He also brings a social angle. Exactly what you're mentioning, that there are vague promises. What exactly will be implemented is not clarified, which we saw, for example, you gave 6 minutes, we could not get details of thereof. Now the question is, if you're giving 1 lakh rupees to every SC, ST, OBC women in India, as well as the poorest women, that is a big question how you define it in the first place. That is more than the entire budget of the Union Government of India. Now, then there is a problem. If you go to slightly less poorer people than them, they don't get 1 paisa. And people who are just below the poverty line get 1 lakh rupees. Given that the poverty line is below 1 lakh rupees for a family in India per year in Indian rupee terms, that family, which is the poorest, becomes richer. This kind of economics is all over the agenda and speeches of the Congress party. The Prime Minister, I'm not speaking here as a member of the BJP, I'm not a member of the BJP. The Prime Minister is absolutely right to say this has been tried all over the world. It has failed everywhere. We've tried that in collectivization of agriculture with kulaks. So many farmers died in Ukraine and in China. Nehruji tried that in 1959. Luckily, he was stopped by his own party. Similarly, 97% income tax rates was tried by Indira Gandhi. What happened? Black money proliferated. Nobody actually paid 97% income taxes. Was nobody stupid enough to work for 100 rupees and give 97 rupees to the government? That will only result in black money. So the simple question is, inheritance tax, no, yes or no is a separate issue. As you said, it's one specific subset. What does it mean to have a socioeconomic survey X-ray? I think it's fine to say then, are you including Stridhan of women? How will you redistribute it? Because it's not even a clean economic redistribution.
Yeah.
They are saying caste, class, and religion. And then the only logical thing to do is to extrapolate from past statements and policies. Because if they are not providing details, it is incumbent upon the middle classes, the hardworking people from lower middle class to upper middle class, everybody, every Indian, to assume that every single property is up for grabs. You can go to an Uber driver in Delhi. Many of them are on paper crorepati's based on the land in Kashi, Ayodhya, etc. It's just illiquid property. Similarly, their wives might have jewelry worth 5-10 lakh rupees at least. Now, is that going to be redistributed? Will one of the axes of redistribution be religion? Now, since that has been mentioned by the Congress party,
And
I think it is fair to say that that's a big problem. Now, I just want to quickly say,
Yeah.
see, it would be very useful if the Congress party had focused on creation of opportunity, on better education. I would say one of the relative weak points of the government, to be very even-handed in the last 10 years, has been a relative less lack of focus on primary and secondary education. There has been a new education policy, good work has happened, more could have been done. But instead of expanding opportunity, they are basically trying to sell envy. And that desperation, that fantastical economics, which they themselves have either done away with in the 1970s because the Congress party under Narasimha Rao and Manmohan Singh brought the economic reforms in 1991.
Exactly. This is the party
now,
that actually takes
it's a
credit for the liberalization of the economy. But you look at some of the policies that are now being espoused, and I get a sense that even some of the Congress leaders are very uneasy with what is being said on top of the manifesto. And the manifesto could have been a very controlled exercise, but speeches are not often that controlled. Madhavan Narayanan, I'm coming to you. You add the idea of this wealth survey and distribution, inheritance tax, plus what Rahul Gandhi, for example, recently said in a speech about khatakat, bank account mein paise dal denge and poverty will just magically be erased or removed. Forget about the fact that people will ask, what were you doing for those 55 years that you were in power and why couldn't you remove that poverty? But poverty alleviation never works like this. This is basic economics. You cannot put money in people's bank accounts and erase poverty.
Shivani, I was wondering who was going to put bank accounts because the Congress party has been mocking Mr. Modi about a 15 lakh transfer to accounts. So I think both parties seem to be accusing each other. My job as a journalist or analyst is to look at things peacefully and not get into rhetorical statements, either from as a journalist or as you as an anchor perhaps, and ask for focused questions and answers. Let me draw your attention to 2 or 3 points that has been raised. One is that, of course, Mr. Modi said something, and you also said that if the Congress has been in power for so many years, why it is not done so? That's a fair question. But the important point to remember is that the Congress tried one experiment in the 60s and 69, the bank nationalization, that actually worked to remove poverty and inequality in an absolute sense. Because whenever we discuss poverty, we cannot use it like an English word. We have to be statistically be able to measure. There are economic concepts like absolute poverty, nutrition-based poverty, and then now inequality is now part of the worldwide debate, including incomes. Even progressive countries like OECD, the developed countries have had systems of taxing the super rich. Their wealth taxes have come down because it has not worked out, and that's for India to learn. But in reducing inequality is like looking for true love in romantic relationships. It doesn't happen. The relationships get complicated, but people don't stop discussing true love, and that's how these utopian ideas come. But
No, reducing inequality and utopia are two different things.
Yeah, it is.
No, reducing
progress.
inequality is very much an endeavor that we should not give up on. I don't think I'm
Exactly.
suggesting that at all. But
No.
utopian tendencies or wanting a utopia is an entirely different tendency.
Now, the Congress utopia, as I see it right now, something that has been missed by all my previous three speakers, and but Rahul Gandhi is very articulate on that, is that he views the Republic of India as a coalition of various social groups, especially the disadvantaged and underprivileged groups. We can discuss, OBCs as backward classes, that includes Muslim backwards.
Sure.
But the way the Congress has phrased the whole point is controversial, because thanks to the Rajendra Sachar committee report, they are including all minorities, and that is controversial, and rightly so. So, but this doesn't take away the debate that scheduled castes and tribes and other disadvantaged groups also need affirmative action, as it is called in the
No,
United
that's not
States.
what has been questioned at all. I did not question it even once. The idea that the marginalized need to be empowered is not a questionable idea. My
Now-
question is, caste survey, wealth survey, then what? Why is
Yeah,
the Congress party unable to explain that,
No,
which is
hang on,
precisely
hang
the
on.
debate?
Hang on. This is, picture it like Hindustan Lever, Unilever, a company. What they want to do is the market survey and then design the product accordingly, as I see it, because I'm very clear that the Congress manifesto is pretty vague on this, and Congress needs to own up the fact that they have not. But it's important also to remember that Congress has gone through a zigzag pattern in this. They first nationalized banks and created a certain amount of equality and poverty alleviation, but that ran into a brick wall in the late 90s with the fiscal deficit crisis that kicked off the economic reforms. And I personally covered the reforms in 91, where it was said, now let us be very clear on this, there it was said, we need to create wealth so that we can,
Exactly.
marginalize.
Today, wealth creators are demonized by the
No,
Congress.
hang on. Today, the demonization is a separate issue. I will answer that question separately. The important point to remember is that Congress has come the whole curve and now says we have created wealth for the past 30 years, both under BJP and Congress. Now what? So they want to place this agenda on the table for debate, but they don't have the answers and solutions. And that the critics are right, because they don't have the answers yet.
Okay.
However, to answer your question, let me answer your question. You talk about demonization. Philanthropy is a major issue of debate in the US, where billionaires give away taxes and there are pledges. In India, we do not have a culture of philanthropy, but like Europe, we discuss wealth tax. So what Rahul Gandhi is doing is nothing but what Bernie Sanders is doing in the US and what Jeremy Corbyn has done in the UK. So you may call it woke, that's your right. But urban Naxal seems like a very far-fetched expression.
But you
Because
don't
I know
think-
it for a fact that Western countries, including the most developed ones, including Scandinavia, which has very low inequality, they all have adopted various strategies at various times. This is for youngsters of India to actually read up, and instead of merely
I
getting
love it when Scandinavian countries are compared to India. I love that because we are so alike.
Aspirational.
We are so alike, isn't it? I mean, you cannot have policies that work in Scandinavian, Nordic countries even be mentioned in India. It sounds laughable to me, but
Well,
I'll
you
park
should-
that.
Let me
Harsh,
quote Abdul Kalam.
No,
Abdul
I just
Kalam
want to
said,
mention.
dream is not what makes
an
makes your
average
people
Scandinavian
work.
country.
Okay, one second. I want to go back to our political representatives, but
No.
Harsh has been itching to come in. Harsh,
Yes. I just want to briefly mention that it's. I think I take the points of Mr. Narayan in the right spirit. However, an average Scandinavian country has the population less than of Calcutta, Mumbai.
Yeah.
There have been homogeneous populations till recently when immigration happened, and most importantly, they are at per capita incomes of $50,000, $60,000. We are at a per capita income of $2,500. So this idea that we have created wealth in the last 30 years, yes, we have, but we are nowhere close to anywhere becoming that redistributed. Having said that, redistribution is important. It happens through the quote-unquote progressive income tax. In India, for example, even rich farmers are exempt from paying income taxes.
and there is a rich tax in India, by the way. There is a super rich tax in India.
There is a surcharge, 1 crore, 5 crores, and they're paying around 35%, 40, 39% even after cutting the marginal rate. So there is a 39% marginal rate at the top. There is 0% marginal rate at the bottom. So it's not like that the income tax, even the GST, one of the reasons the GST is not a flat rate in India is precisely so that it can be quote unquote progressive and redistributive. So that a Mercedes has a higher GST rate as opposed to everyday food items.
Right.
So the entire fiscal policy structure across governments has been redistributed. What wealth tax does is it brings double, triple taxation. Your wealth is after you've already paid taxes on your incomes.
Yes.
Right? Okay. Even then, if you want to have above some cutoff, above some inheritance, you can discuss in specifics. To say कि दिल में क्या है हम बाद में सोचेंगे, I think it is fair to call within political rhetoric terms urban Naxals. Is that an exaggeration? That's for political consumption.
Yeah,
But if
no,
you
of
do
course,
not
we
give
are
me
in the middle of an
specifics-
election and there
If
is
you do not
heightened
give me
political
specifics,
rhetoric
I am scared.
on all sides.
If you do not
But
give-
there
if
is
you do
a
not give me
reason
specifics,
why
I'm
a
scared.
gap has been created, a lacuna has been created of information and a clarity of what the Congress's vision is going to be, which is why it is fueling suspicion and fear. I said that. If that vision was clear, we could debate that as mature adults, but that vision is not there. And then on top of that, Rahul Gandhi comes and says, we'll do something krantikari after that. Now, what does radical suggest to you? Radical suggests to you it's going to be something unheard of. It's going to be something we've never seen before. But he doesn't tell us what that radical step would be. Yes, Mahima, you want to come in? Why is the Congress reading more as the far left than the left in India?
No. First of all, you see the panelist before me, Harsh, was, he just, when he quoted कि हम बाद में बताएंगे कि बाद में सोचेंगे दिल में क्या है. No, I will reiterate, it is Dushyant Kumar's famous lines, हम अभी से क्या बताएं, क्या हमारे दिल में है. Because you see, policies is what will follow after the wealth assessment or whatever you wish to call it today. Shivani, we conducted a socio-economic caste census in 2011, the data of which is withheld till date. But it is the Modi government which is responsible for wealth concentration of 40% of national wealth in the hands of just 1% Indians today, Shivani. It is unprecedented.
Okay, even if I was to accept that, Mahima, the moot point is, what are you going to do about it and how?
You see, as I said, Shivani, when we form the government, and we will, we shall, you see, you want us to pull all our beams out right now.
No, it isn't about that. You are completely, you're twisting the concept of me asking a political party what they intend to do.
Shivani, the seasoned journalist that you are, I expect you to at least complete my thought.
Okay, go ahead. But you've said this before. Yes, go ahead.
You see, I'm saying that it's a matter of policy and that will follow when we form the government. But today the question is, and the agenda of your show today was PM Modi's interview, as I learned, and I was not told it's only inheritance tax or wealth redistribution specific. So I have these questions that, while Nirav Modi, Mehul Choksi, Vijay Mallya are on the run already, now has evaded the country. What is the Modi government, what is the outgoing PM going to do about it? What are their plans about redistribution or filling up this gap?
Okay, let me take that to Tuhin. You've asked a specific question. Let me just give the opportunity for him to respond on economic offenders. I know there's a new economic fugitive law that was brought in, and many of their properties have been either attached, liquidated, etc. But Tuhin Sinha, wealth inequality is indeed a reality. Some level of equality needs to be brought in. And what is the government's agenda on that, given that even in India you could argue that inequality has only increased? Why doesn't the BJP outline its vision?
Shivani, the Congress tends to be skeptical and dismissive of the India story. So 36 lakh crore being put into the hands of the poor directly through DBT, to our impregnable DBT and the JAM Trinity, that speaks of an income redistribution of an unprecedented kind. But obviously the Congress will not acknowledge it. Since they anyway cast aspersions on Indian institutions, they should rely upon the Gini coefficient, the Gini correlation of income disparity propounded by the great Italian economist who they should, ideally be in awe. According to Gini coefficient, India's Gini coefficient has been receding in the last 10 years from 0.49. It is now 0.40. So I think there are enough indications to suggest that we are doing far better than the Congress would have us believe. And finally, So as they keep talking about the socio-economic caste survey of 2011, let me remind you that, that was a fudged act that had 8.19 crore errors, and of those 8.19 crore errors, 1.5 crore errors still remain unaddressed. In fact, the last time, in 6 months ago, when they apparently did a caste survey in Chhattisgarh and Karnataka, they didn't have the moral courage to make it public, because for them it is only an act of manipulation.
Actually,
we have never been opposed to
the
caste
greater,
census.
the greater,
we will do an authentic caste survey, not the way the Congress does it.
the greater correlation is actually with the caste census that was done in Karnataka by the Congress, and ahead of the last state elections, this once again reared its head in Karnataka, and the Congress has never released that data. The question will be asked, why? If you're so for caste census, yes, very quickly, Mahima.
Yeah. You see, when the BJP does last mile delivery, that's all right. You don't question them. Did you question them before 2014? What are their plans? Did this spell out everything that they were going to do? And when he is referring to socio-economic caste census, number one as survey, I am, almost feeling like laughing, because he is saying that socio-economic caste census has so many crores of errors. I would like to learn, like the rest of the Indians, what is the BJP's mechanism of arriving at those number of errors with their double engine sarkar? Not only they could not conduct a census, they could not even let out the data for the experts to analyze it.
All right. I think we're deviating. The issue is not why a census or a caste census could not be done, should be done. I'm not really going into the merits of that. Because fine, it can be a political party's ideology. They want to get a caste census done. And we need diversity of opinion. So I'm not questioning that. My question is purely, how is the caste census going to become the bedrock of your economic policy? One second, Mahima, I'll come back to you. Yes, Harsh. I'll give final 30 seconds each to Harsh and Madhavan. Yes.
I just want to just build on something Mr. Narayan said. It's true that India has different, groups, consocialist polity. Like the Ottoman Empire had the millets. The Congress party wants these millets to have their separate personal laws. But when it comes to economic redistribution, we are all Indians.
Yeah.
Otherwise, we are Hindus or Muslims or Christians when it comes to personal laws. So it does not work that way. If you want to create a sense of fraternity and harmony, you have to build a broader sense of feelingness, of oneness. Fraternity, as Ambedkar would say. You cannot have separate personal laws while saying I will take from the Hindu and give to the Muslim. Within that political rhetoric, it is unfortunate that the Sachar Commission is increasingly looking like the 1937 Pirpur Committee. And Congress, to that limited extent, is increasingly looking like the Indian Union Muslim League. It is a consocialist party.
Well, I wasn't even going into the entire Muslim League angle. I'm purely discussing what seem to be very ultra-leftist economic policies sweeping in. Even the left today is not promising what the Congress is. Is that the Rahul Gandhi effect? Madhavan, what do you think? Because this charge is not new.
Shivani, let me take a slightly offbeat line. I think Rahul Gandhi has already succeeded, because I thought I would never live to see the day where a BJP spokesperson like Tuhin Sinha would actually quote the Gini coefficient. This is like the BJP discussing Gini coefficient is a magnificent intellectual leap for the country. Second thing is, let me put a creative idea instead of the tutu meme. Like we have a poverty line, why not have a super rich wealth line? Instead of robbing the middle class or Mangal Sutra and all that, let's look at only the super wealthy and define a wealth line like you define a poverty line.
That's the wealth tax. No, that's another fancy way of saying wealth and inheritance tax.
Wealth tax is one thing, but wealth line will help us discuss and identify obscene levels of wealth. The third point I want to make is
one second. No, Madhavan, I have a fundamental question. What is obscene level of wealth? If you have created that wealth and earned it honestly.
Let me come to that. I knew you would ask that question. That's my third point. There is something in social and economic analysis called unearned privilege. People can Google that word. When you have not earned it but only got it from Papa, it is called.
So that's inheritance tax. You are just being fancy about what you are talking about.
No, well, let people discuss.
We have discussed. Okay. Are you for inheritance tax then? I take it, Madhavan.
Last but not the least, let me quote Sahil Udyanvi. He said, "Ye dunya agar mil bhi jaye to kya hai?" So we don't want the poor of the country saying, "Ye vikas agar mil bhi jaye to kya hai?" Let's involve them in the chai pe charcha, or let it make it on filter coffee so that people will get some nice South Indian kick out of the whole thing. Thank you.
If I had a plan, I would discuss it. I've been very patiently asking for that plan, but I'm not getting it. Inheritance tax, as the Congress says, Madhavan, they're not doing it. So you're for it. That's fine. I welcome all ideas.
Congress loves vagueness. That is the problem with that party.
Okay, all right. Tohen, you want to respond very quickly since your name was taken? I'll give you 30 seconds.
No, I mean, income disparity is something which has been the legacy of the Congress party. So I think our redistribution has anyway been taking place. In fact, I just came across a video of Rajiv Gandhi.
One by one, Mahima, please, not over him, please.
I came across a video of Rajiv Gandhi of 1982 today when he says that, providing tap water connections is a small thing. Indians are not excited about that. So can you imagine how entitled and how condescending they have been towards the poor? So I don't think it behoves them to talk about income redistribution. Of course, today, in their desperation, and any which way, they can promise the moon today because they know that they are not going to come to power for the next 10 years. That's precisely why they're not prepared with specific answers. Because this document, this manifesto is anyway something they have to put together. But I don't think they're really prepared for it because they know that, it would be needed only 10 years or 15 years later.
There is a simple economic point that if you promise people a lot of things, their incentive to actually go out and create wealth decreases. And here the Congress's double whammy is they're promising a large section of people, as per them, 70 to 80% of the population something if they were voted to power. And then how do you get that much resources to also grow for everybody else is the question that will be asked economically. I'm not saying politically. But I've run out of time. I do thank our guests for joining us. All right. Time for a very short break. On the other side, we'll get you more interviews from the campaign trail. We've got an exclusive conversation with Amethi candidate of the BJP, Smriti Irani, lined up.